All right, I got 1 o'clock. Guess we'll get started here. Let me let some more people in the room. Seems like I got a new setting where I have to verify everybody coming in. But it's our CADD Advisor Group meeting for February 15th, 2022. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 15th. I am recording this so that we can keep track of that. And again, I will put it out on the Power Geopack blog as early as tomorrow. Okay, training. Let's see if I can get this to pop up here. Trying to get me a web to come out. Can you see the web, Shannon? Do you guys see that? No? Do you see the CAD service?
I can see CAD services, Bill.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to verify. Again, we got this CAD services SharePoint page, and when you go out there, you've got your CAD training areas. If I select it, it will allow us to go to the instructor-led classes. You're not seeing all that? Okay, let me see if I can.
Not seeing that, Bill, no.
Yeah, oh, you're just seeing the PowerPoint. Okay, I got to change sharing. Let me share different. Share web browser. Can you see that now? And it says instructor-led classes?
Yeah, we can see that, Bill.
Okay, cool. Hang on, I got to let more people in 1 second. You're not seeing that, are you? Okay, good. Okay, and the instructor-led classes that we've got out there, if I click on it. Oh, come on. Why is it not working?
I blame Shannon.
Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, we got a list of them that's out there for what's coming up. So we got our ORD training update classes that are coming up. They're out there right now. We don't have any road ones or any of the ORD fundamentals coming up yet, but we'll put them on the schedule when we get those dates figured out. Also in here, you can go down to the links to our online videos and manuals. And if you go here, it'll bring us to the page that has all the different types of training that we have as far as manuals and some data sets out there. We don't have the data set out there yet for OpenRoads Designer Connect, but if you hit the plus sign and open that up, you can see down here at the bottom, we have an ORD Connect version, which will bring you to our Connect edition, which will bring you to the YouTube playlist with all the different files that we have out there, YouTube videos that we have. Did it change over now? Okay. Okay, hang on a second. People are coming in and I got to go let them in. Let me go back to this. You're still seeing the OpenRoads?
That is correct, Bill.
All right. Okay, so that's where this is located. If you go back to the main page again, you can see that that's the training. And then if I go back one more, our Power Geopack blog, and that's where these go every time we have a meeting. We record them, we put them out here in this Power Geopack blog. It's got the videos of the previous months all the way back a few years. So you can go back and look at those if you needed to. Okay, let me go.
Hey, Bill, now that you're at the blog, should we, someone mentioned that we should probably have an ORD blog. Can we just rename this one, or?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about, but I heard a rumor that this stuff's probably going to go away. So
the blog is?
Yeah. The Power Geopack blog may go away. We'll come up with something else more than likely, but that's where it's at right now. I'll talk to Steve after the meeting, see what's going on there. There's a lot of people still coming in. I'm trying to get them all in and manage this. Okay, so let me go back to my PowerPoint. I'm trying to. And it's coming. Okay, you can see that part? Okay. Again, we still have the available online classes that are out there to sign up at mo.u for these things. And I've talked on this every single meeting, so I'm going to move on to the next thing. which our class schedule again is what we've got going right now is March 3rd, OpenRoads Update Training Northwest District. And if you need any kind of training, just request it through one of us. Our software updates, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin for a minute, and he's going to talk about some things that we got going on. Yeah. Find you, Kevin. You may be able to share your screen anyway, but let me try making you presenter. And
let me know when you see that, Bill. I shared my screen too.
Not yet. Try sharing it now.
Okay.
Now it looks like you're good.
Okay. So I'm just going to do a quick OpenRoads Designer update, and then I got a little presentation to do on civil geometry. Let me just go ahead and get into the PowerPoint here. Again, the district updates. We've already hit Northeast in January, and my little box is in the way, January 12th or 11th and 12th. We just trained Central District. I believe that was last week on the 8th, and got them trained. We're slowly converting their projects now. I'm the one kind of doing the converting, and so we're in that process right now. Our next district's going to be Southeast.
Boing, boing.
Southeast on 8th and 9th. And actually that's, yeah, it's going to be on the 8th really as the main training. We'll try to, depending on how many jobs get converted, we'll probably stick around on the 9th. The roadway people will be in Poplar Bluff and the survey people will be in Sykeston. Then after that is Northwest. Right now the dates are the 22nd and 23rd. Kansas City's after that. Southwest will be 3 days of training based on their conference room size and the number of people they have. We're actually going to have 2 roadway trainings. The first one will be on the 19th, and then the second group of roadway people will be on the 20th, and then we're going to finish off with the surveyors on the 21st. And then the last group is St. Louis. Right now it's the 3rd and the 4th. We're still waiting to hear back from a couple of the district design engineers as far as how that training is going to look. So we'll update that in the next month's advisory group meeting. Also, one group that we got to update is the bridge office, and they'll be somewhere in here or right after St. Louis when we update them. So again, if we want to do this in person, but if we get out to your district and COVID stops us from doing in person, we're going to basically train everybody on that 1 day of training. Typically, it would be the first day of the training that's listed. But again, I'll get with your district design engineer if that situation happens. But again, we want to be in person. We think it's a better training when it's in person. So, all right. I'm doing some of the converting for the Northeast and Central District, and what items are being converted. And I basically look at every file, but the main items that I look at is the survey data. Survey data, if you have any kind of survey data in there, I'm converting that up to ORD survey data. Terrain model feature definitions, they've kind of changed the functionality of the feature definitions. So if you have a terrain model in there, I will upgrade that to an ORD feature terrain model feature definition. Template libraries, I have a little macro that goes in and changes the feature definitions that are in the old SS10 ITL and upgrades those to ORD feature definitions. And then the last thing I was attempting to do all was civil geometry, but if it's a simple case, I will upgrade it and go from there. But if it's complicated and there's lots of alignments, for example, something that looks like this, I feel that the designer probably knows more about that data than I do. So I'm going to let them upgrade that civil geometry. And when I say upgrade, I upgrade the file, but I'm going to let the designer upgrade it to an ORD feature definition. Because as you all know, the SS10 feature definition is pretty much static, and you can't change the scale unless you run it through the, run it back through the GPK, and then it goes through DNC Manager and then changes the scale. But we don't have any of that in ORD. So when I bring that civil geometry file up to ORD. It's just basically static text. The civil information is still there, but if you want that annotation to annotate up and down, you got to upgrade it to an ORD alignment feature definition. And I just finished a video on how to do that, and I'm going to send it out for any complicated jobs like this. I will send that video out and let the designer update that. And if you need any help with that while you're doing that, just call me and I will walk you through it. So, but just to kind of show you that process of upgrading this to an OpenRoads Designer feature definition, I've got a project already set up here. And so this, what we're looking at is an SS10 alignment that I've already brought into OpenRoads Designer. And so this, you know, if you don't know if it's already been converted or not to OpenRoads Designer, the easiest thing you can do is just change the drawing scale. And if it does not change, that is still an SS10 feature definition then. So I'm going to change that back to 100. Another way you can tell is if you look at where that feature definition is being pulled from. If it's being pulled from something called, let me open this up real quick here. If it's being pulled from drafting standards, that is an old feature definition. The new feature definitions are located in a different area, and I'll show you where those are at. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and convert this. And again, this is all static annotation out here. So what I do is I convert, or I change the feature definition to something like Geometry Scratch. And the reason I do that is because I can then isolate all the other stuff that I need to get rid of. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just change this feature definition to Geometry Scratch. And then I go into my level display and I switch it to a used filter, and I just turn off Geometry Scratch. And then everything left is stuff that is SS10. It's static. It's not going to change. So I just go ahead and select it and delete it. Then I bring back the Geometry Scratch alignment. And what I do is I'm going to upgrade that to an ORD alignment feature definition. So I just go in there, go into Properties. And the new alignment feature definition is in its own folder called Alignment. And you pick whichever one you want here. We've got the 3 that we had before. I'm just going to pick Proposed. And if it does not update the color from red to the yellow or gold color that we normally have on our MoDOT feature definition, it means that the feature definitions just need to be updated. And it's really easy to do. You just go into your Explorer. It used to be called Project Explorer. Now it's called Explorer and ORD. You just go down to the OpenRoads Standards tab, and you just basically drill down till you get to the active file, and you just click on it and right click and then do an update standards from DGNlib. When you do that, it should change that to a yellow feature definition. Okay. Now, you notice I don't have any text out there. So what I'm going to do is to get the annotation out there, you have to go to something called element annotation. So I'm going to go ahead and annotate this and reset to complete. Okay. Now, one thing that we've added that we didn't have before, and I'm actually going to do a couple, I'm actually going to go back. Well, I can show you here. We actually added, if it's an arc curve, we actually added to the length, we added the arc in parentheses. If it's a chord curve, we added chord in parentheses. Now, there's a little bit of a bug that we submitted to Bentley. On this length, we're not getting the chord length, we're getting the arc length out here. So even though we put the word chord out here for all chord curves, you have to update this length manually. And the way you can do that is you can just come in here and you can go to your reports. And if you go down to the chorded length, you'll see that the chorded length is not being reported on that length there. It's just off a little bit. It's the arc length that they're showing. And so the chorded length is 112/1760. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down, 112/1760. And so all you have to do is come out here and actually just edit this text and just come in here and change that value. So 112, 17.60, and you just left click out in the screen. And so that will stay that, even if you change your annotation scale, that will scale up and down, and so will all the other text. And really that's all there is to updating the feature definition for alignments. Go back to my PowerPoint. So should I upgrade my project ORD? Someone had a question about that from one of the other districts. And so I would say if you had a few simple corridors, you know, nothing too complicated, like preliminary corridors, you could probably go ahead and convert your job. If you have just a few microstation plan sheets, like typical sections or something like that, you could probably update, because what you're going to have to do with typical sections is the border, when I upgrade it to ORD, that border goes away and you have to apply something called a name boundary to that typical section. So any plan sheets that you have done already, you'll have to apply a name boundary. Other things, civil plan sheets, if you don't, you know, typically if you have a whole lot of plan and profile sheets or plan sheets or cross-section sheets, you probably want to hold off and finish it in SS10, because again, there's a little bit of work behind there to get the boundary back or the border. Plus, you know, the plan sheets in ORD are dynamic. So if you would change something, say you change an alignment or a profile, they basically update in the sheets automatically, and you kind of lose that functionality if you got some old SS10 plan sheets. So when we come to your districts, we can talk more about what projects can be moved ahead or not. But you know, the good thing is SS10 is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. We would like you to, you know, if you decide to stay in SS10, finish out your job in SS10. But any new projects really have to be started in ORD. What else do I got? Oh, the next thing I got is when we go out to the districts, we record everything that we do out there, and we try to make that available to you. So and the training that we do out in, we got some videos from Northeast and Central District. They'll be out in this playlist out on our OpenRoads Designer YouTube webpage. And here's some more of the videos there. And we try to put them in order as we teach them during the day of training. That's all I got right now for the update on OpenRoads Designer. So I'll give it back to Bill.
Thanks, Kevin. Back to my PowerPoint. Okay. And
Bill, we're
yes.
still seeing the CAD services page on top of your PowerPoint.
Are you really? Oh, you don't see this month's presenter right now?
I do not know.
Okay, I'll try sharing it again. Let's see. Share. Screen. Now you should see it. Cool. I don't know why we're having so much problems with this WebEx this month, but this month's presenter is going to be Shannon Smith. He's going to talk about feature definitions with pay items. Wow. And then a second thing he's going to talk about is name boundaries and special ditch profiles, which deals with OpenRoads Designer. So let me find him and make him a presenter. And Shannon, you should be able to share your screen.
All right, can you see that?
It is, yes.
Okay. So for my portions that I'm doing this time is we're going to talk about bid items. I know they've been in Power Geopack back in the day. DNC Manager, they had some pay items involved with what you could place on the plan. And ORD also now has that ability. It takes quite a bit of setup, but the setup is pretty well done. For now, we've got all of our current pay items available to us for adding to different geometry that we have out on the screen. And then our civil elements, if they have a pay item associated to them, we'll have them attached to those feature definitions. So I'm going to show you how that's set up right now in this ORD. Okay, so what we're kind of hoping to get out of this little section is we're going to talk about the feature definitions, how we have them set up, that we've added bid items to the feature definitions. They have the pay items associated, and they are based on the MoDOT bid item list. I get that list from the bidding and contract services whenever they make an update. A lot of the updates that they make aren't necessarily for pay items that we'll place in a file, but if they are, then I can go out to the spreadsheet that populates our bid items and make that change. So that should stay up to date at all times. If for some reason you do have a pay item that has changed, there's a way to go in and make that change inside the program as well for any pay items that you already have on the drawing. So that's going to be with the feature definitions portion of it. Then we've got something called an asset manager. This allows you to go out and add an alignment, station, offset, and different fields to the pay item itself, and have it add automatically to those elements. Right now, Bentley is working on a version that's actually built in to the system. Asset Manager is part of the system, but it actually looks out for an Excel spreadsheet and brings that in. So eventually that will be built into the program. So they're doing some enhancements. This is actually something they're currently working on. So I know when we're in the early stages of it, we'll be ahead of the game whenever they get those things done. You can attach and detach bid items from different features that you have out there. So if our feature definition automatically has a pay item associated with it and you don't want that on there, you can detach the pay item from it. Or if you have just a regular microstation line out there or a cell or something like that that needs to have a pay item attached to it, they have the ability to attach that at that point. Then when you're kind of done with your project, you can get an overall view of the items that you have in your file with the reports. The reports can be customized. You can add and take away from what the default report is. So if you need more information in your report, there are some items in there that it can be reported on that may not necessarily be part of the DGN library where that comes from. So that's what we're going to take a look at here in this first part. So feature definitions, we have all kinds of different feature definitions from temporary berms. We've got all of our pavement markings, different things like that. And they come from a DGN library. And so that DGN library or DGN lib has all of the pay items in there and all the feature definitions updated with those pay items. So any bid item updates that come from the bidding and contract services, like I said, will be placed in that DGN lib and be available in the pick list. You can also search for items. So the way that I've got that in there is I've got the bid item number along with that bid item. So you don't have to go out and look up what the bid item number is necessarily. You know it's guardrail. You can type in guardrail and then all of the items that appear with guardrail will also have their bid item number with it. And so then when you choose that from the list, it'll fill in your bid item number right there. Okay. So that is one of the good things that it'll allow you to search. Then you can also attach items. So we have a pick list that it has out there for all of our bid items. And the attach item tool is located in our OpenRoads, in our regular OpenRoads workspace, and it's under the utilities portion of it. All of these items that you see across here. So like I said, they can be searched. The bid items can be added individually, or you can do a selection set. So you can go out and select a bunch of items on the screen that if they're all the same pay item, and you can add that pay item to those items. It'll be used to add items to such things as microstation elements or cells. Like I said, the feature definitions should have them already on there, but you can modify those after the fact. So that's the attach item, allows you to attach bid items. And then the detach, again, is just like this. It's a icon or a tool that allows you to go out and select an item that has a bid item associated with it. And if it does, it'll remove it. If it doesn't have the bid item portion of it added to it, it'll give you the circle with a line through it saying that that item is not available. You can't take it off of there. So If it doesn't have it, then it won't do it, but if it does, then it will. If you take a look at the heads-up display, the properties of an item that has a bid item associated with it, you'll see that in the list, and then you can actually do the down arrow and change that. So some of our items have more than one pay item that could be associated with it, like if we had a berm line or something like that, there's a type B and a type C. If the default is set at type B and it needs to be a C, you can just go right here and change that, and it will stick with that item. And so they are modifiable. The asset manager, this is the part that they're working on to update and hopefully kind of upgrade the way that it works and build it into the system. The asset manager is going out and looking at Excel spreadsheet and populating a whole entire drawing. What we use it for, since we've got all of our items in the DGN library already and it knows and it pulls them in, pretty much I'm just using the asset manager tool right now to create the station and offset and alignment name that bid item is based off of. So when we go into the asset manager, we load in our Excel spreadsheet. It says, okay, I've got a bid item out here and a bid item in description. And then in that dialog, you can select items out there that you want to be associated with a particular alignment. And then you go out and you check mark that it's a linear reference that you want to associate it to, what the alignment from the drawing is. So you go out and actually select it from the drawing. And then you can update the station and offset values for the items that you have selected. Once you do that, that item will now have station and offset, and it'll also display the alignment. And it'll also display all that information in the report. So then the update assets will allow you to do that. It will also tell you how many that you updated once you place it out there. Again, element properties, in this portion of it, you can see we have a bid item that's maybe a feature definition that's been drawn out there. Doesn't have station, alignment, or offset applied to it. Once we run the asset manager, the next time that you pull the heads-up display, it will go ahead and tell you the reference alignment that it was based off of, what the stationing was, what the start and end offset were for that item. If it had an area associated with it, it would fill that in as well. The one thing that I wanted to say on that one was this information is static. So that is something that you have to be aware of, is that whenever you first do this, if you go out and make a change to any of those alignment elements or any of the elements with the bid items associated with them, this will not update. You'd have to run the asset manager tool again and then update the pay items. So if you make a change to your alignment or make a change to the featured element, you would have to go rerun that tool on that item. And then we have reports. These are reports for civil elements and microstation elements all in one. It's a totally different report tool. But whenever you open up any of our files now, you'll have this bid item list associated in your drawing files. The bid item list will have to be saved the very first time that you come in here. If you want to be able to search the active model and also the reference files, you have to hit this little black save button in order to save this or burn it into the file. And once it's burnt into the file, then you can search all kinds of different things. This will be ghosted out if you don't do that the very first time. Then once you come in after that, it will always allow you to search all these different fields. But this report, once you fill out what you want, you have all these different basically columns and rows that are going to be filled out for you. You can add some columns and rows by right-clicking on columns and adding the information if it knows it. And once you create your report from that, it will go out and give you what it knows about that piece of geometry that has the bid item associated to it. So we have the reference alignments, the length if it's a linear item, your start and stop stations based on the alignment, and your offsets based on the alignment. If your item is a closed shape, it can give you the area, and if it is a closed shape along with a particular bid item, then volume will be displayed for you. So those things are what we have right now as far as doing the bid items. There's no real station to station bid item things, but I think that's part of what they're working on at Bentley and some of the next releases, is to enhance this portion of it so that it works more like the old DNC manager did, with being able to get pay items a little bit more accurate. But if you ever wanted to come out and double check your pay item information that you have for a project, you can do that with this tool. I'm going to show a little bit of that out here. Let's see. So here I have a design file, and I have a connector road located here. You still see that, Bill? Just fine? Okay. So I have an alignment in here. Right now I have the 3D turned on, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the home and turn that off. This window to do that. So I've got the 3Ds displaying. Don't want to see any of those. Okay, so this is a regular corridor, connector road corridor, and we've got an alignment in there called connector road. I have a couple of ditches out here, which we're going to take a look at in the second portion of what I'm doing. This first portion is just taking a look at the bid items. So let's say that out here, out to the side, we have some poles, or we have a survey monument or something like that. You can actually use civil information to do this. I can go into the geometry. I can come out here into the points area. I can just place a point. You could use Civil AccuDraw to do this, or just place a point out here. My elevation mode, this is something fairly new that it has in here, is we can actually base it off of a terrain model. So I can get elevation from a terrain model. The reference terrain, I've only got one in here, so I can use that. And then you can be above or below that with this point. You can also do rotation if you want. You can lock that in. But my feature definition, these feature definitions, if I come out to drafting standards and pick, say, a set location survey marker, I can choose that. And as soon as I choose that, it'll pop this up and it'll show this extra space right down here. This is all new because that has been set up with the pay item, or with the cell itself. It's got this pay item information. So the bid item has been placed out here already. I don't have station and offset or anything yet, but all I have to do then is go out and basically accept what elevation I'm going to use, and I can data click a point. And then I can accept the rotation. And that's going to place that out there. And then I can take a look at the properties of this. And I can see that right now I have the bid item. If it wasn't the right bid item for whatever reason, I could do the down arrow on that and search for a different item that we have out there. Maybe it's supposed to be a tree of some kind. You can pick a tree and then select the information. It's not going to change that cell to a tree, but it will change the bid item number to a tree. So there's that portion of it. If I were to go up, and we're still in the OpenRoads modeling, and I'll go into the utilities portion. This is where all that's located, is under utilities. So something kind of new here. If I take a look at the asset manager, that's the first thing I'll look at. When that first comes up, it usually, the first time you come into a file, it will be blank. So you have to open the asset manager tools. And currently we keep this until Bentley can upgrade the program for us in the next version. We're going to be using an Excel file that is out on the R drive. So it's under the R drive and under CADD, OpenRoads Designer, item types. And we can open that up, and that will open up our bid items that we have. Okay, so now if you didn't have any bid items applied out here at all, you could actually use the asset manager, select elements, and then add the bid item description to that. Now it's not going to add a bid item to it, but it'll add those fields to it. So it doesn't pick like a blank, it kind of picks like a blank bid item and just sticks it out there, and then you can go into the different items and change which one it's using. But what I use the asset manager for is to update the station and offset values. And all you have to do is check on that. We can do a selection set. So if I want to take a look at this item, I'll just have a selection set on that. And then I have to check the linear reference. And after linear reference, I'll go out and tell it which one that I want to be off of. So I've got the connector road right there. I'll left click on the connector road. And then once I do that, I've had all this filled out. I've got a selection set. I've got my alignment, and I'm updating station and offset values. I can update the assets. It'll tell you that it's got one update that it's done. And then I can come out here now and take a look at this item. I can see that now the alignment is connector road. This is the station for the start and end. Of course, it's all in one. It's just a point, so it's got the same. And then the offset that it has. And then you've also got the bid item number. Okay, and that's doing this with a point. You can also do it with linear elements, and you can also do it with things that are referenced in. So I've got, I believe I've got Route 54 in here. Let me see if that file is in here. There's some stuff in there. So I do have Route 54. Let's take a look at the levels. The one thing that you will see in the reports is that whether or not you have the level turned on or off, it's still going to find that information and report it to you. So good or bad, that's the way that one reacts to it. So I'll see if there's anything in this file. Take a look at 54. So I've got a berm, a couple of berms that have been drawn out there based off of Route 54. And so those have already been kind of set up. So if I take a look at those, kind of see that that's a bit, I can't change it because it's in a reference file. But you can see that it's also based on the connector road. And then it doesn't have a start offset because it actually starts before the alignment. So it says it's not available for the start, but it does have the end. So I've got a few things in there, some linear and some are point. So then what you can do is I'm going to go ahead and close the asset manager. That still pretty much stays attached to the drawing while you're in it. So if I open it back up, it's still there. If I go back to utilities now, I can go to the reports. And in the reports, you've got the bid items and you've got all these different columns. So these are the columns that we're going to see in our report. You can add other columns if you need to, the add columns button. And if it's something that's part of that actual definition, you can place it. So if I expand this out, anything that's listed in here, I could add to it. So if I was doing area, I could turn that on and I would have that field. Then once you're in here, you can click back on the bid item list at the top and you've got a preview results. You can take a look at that. And right now, probably one of the main things in this dialog is this include references. So as long as I have that set to yes, I'll pick up these berms. If I set that to no, then those berms won't show in my report. I have it set to yes, so I can go ahead and take a look at that. It's created a report and it's on the whole entire design file. So everything that is seen in this design file, it will go ahead and report on. So I've got on the connector road, the whole entire connector road, I've got a shape out there for that. And if I had the volume turned on here, it would show the volume as well. But that's the reports portion of it. This is in a DGN Live, so you never really have to fill that out at all. It's always going to come across that way, but you can, again, modify the columns that you have. The other options up here at the top, there's a pick list. Pick list is all of the bid items. So it's got all of our bid items in it. The pick list is what's used for all the other information in here to choose from. So if you wanted to add some new things in here, you could do that. You could add new items and it would be available in the pick list. Those are coming from also the DGN library that's already set up. So you can also detach items. So if I didn't want that survey marker to be showing up in my report, I could detach the item and all that is a single click on it. And then once you take a look at that, it no longer should have any of that bid item information. So it's still got the feature definitions and everything, but that bid item part is gone. Okay. You can also do the attach item. And then we've got the bid items in here. We can go ahead and select what the bid item number is for that and say that was a survey, location survey. We can go in and add that to that item then at that point. So all of those things are available in the ORD workspace currently. Like I said, this asset manager, I think they're working on that right now to try that and make that integrated to where you can pick the station or you can pick the alignment for all the stations and all that stuff will be integrated into the program. So before I go on to the next thing, what kind of questions do we have on that? Anybody have anything with that?
Nothing in chat.
Nothing in chat. Okay. All right, like I said, these are available already. Chad did a fine job getting those out there for us. So they should be in every location. Any line that you draw that's featured would have such items attached to them. So if we were to go to the geometry tools and try to add a civil element with a feature definition, it should have a pay item associated to it. Okay, cool.
And that would be an ORD feature definition. So if they converted your job up and it's still an SS10 feature definition, they would have to probably change that to a ORD feature definition. So
yeah, it's gonna have to be from the ORD. That's correct. Yep. Okay. Right. So go ahead and take a look at this next thing that we're going to do then.
there is a question in the.
We got one question. Yeah.
I'll let Bill read it real quick.
Would or could you export this in a report to make a quant tab table?
It probably could be done. Let me get back to there. It probably could be done because the report itself, got that thing showing up on my screen.
One more question when you're done with that one.
Okay. That off there. So I can't see the top of my screen because that thing's there. Let's see if I. There, it finally goes away on its own. Okay, so if I go to the utilities reports and I did a report on the whole entire thing, that usually takes a second. So this can be exported out to Excel, or it can be, it can be Excel spreadsheet. So it would have to be formatted in order to do that. So this portion up here, you can import them in. There's a table you can create, and then here's the export results. So the export results would be an XLSX file. So you could get the information in there. It would just be a matter of trying to configure it. And that's one of the things we're going to look at too. So we just got this going and just got it started. So that is actually on my list of things to try to get done, is to get this exported to Quantab. And even possibly, depending on how complicated it is, try to get it to where it'll go into the Ashtoware as well, where you can upload it into your pay items like we used to be able to do in the 90s. Okay, that's my hope anyway for this. What was the other question, Bill?
One more question is,
Yep.
does this automatically update when the bid items are list are updated?
What'll happen is if something's being used, it will not automatically update. So what would end up happening is you'd have, if this survey pin for some reason updated, it will be in this list here that you could search for and change it after the fact. You can change it to that pay item. Most of the time, the items that we draw in here don't change much, but it'll be out, and we will put it out whenever it does. I know you guys probably get that change in the bid items. You might get that. If you don't get that email, that's one that I can definitely forward out and let you know that those have all been changed. Like I said, most of these that we draw don't change very often. So, but if there is a major change, like a curb and gutter changes for some reason, curb line or whatever, then we can definitely get that put out and let you know that it has been updated.
Shannon, did you say that the offset values and the station values, once you apply it and say you modify the element, they don't update automatically?
That's correct. That's part of what they're working on with this asset manager thing.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Are they trying to work on that so that it is kind of automatic in the future? So
the way I understand it is this asset manager pretty much goes away. This is what they've got between now and then supposedly the next release. And the only good thing that I can see about the asset manager is trying to get that station offset value. It's the only way to really get it applied to an element. And this thing, they want to go away. They kind of put it in for an interim thing to get that to work, but that's supposedly going away, and it should be part of the item types portion of it then after that. So then I would see it being dynamic at that point, but I haven't heard for sure if that's going to be the case. But
yeah, cool. Thank you.
Any more on that one?
No more questions so far.
Okay, good. Because this next part will take a few minutes, and hopefully we can get through it. So the second half of what I was going to show today is how in ORD, a lot of times we'll have a center line of a roadway, and then we might have some special ditch profiles, and we might want a 30-foot left and right offset profile showing up on our plan sheets. In SS10, the old days, you had to actually go into the DNC manager and plot out your main alignment, and then have your basically your ditch profiles shipped out to the GPK and then plotted over the top of that alignment profile, and then you could show them in your plan sheets. So in ORD, it's a little bit different. Whatever profile that you have in your alignment is going to show up on your sheets. And so what we can do is actually project these profiles to your alignment and then have them show up on the sheet. If you name them properly, we can also label them correctly and have them show up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do a little bit of that now. I've got a file here. This file is the plan file. So you can kind of see I've got a couple of ditches drawn in here. If I hit F6 on this, they're basically just a ditch line that I've carried from one ditch to the other. You don't ever design your project this way, but that's beside the point. Wanted to just show that this is a point controlled element. So our end conditions go out and seek these lines, but I want those to show up in my profile for my mainline roadway on the corridor. And then I also want to see what it looks like 30-foot left and right of that, what the existing ground looks like. Okay, so right now I'm in the plan file, and I've already drawn that, and they already have a profile. So if I look at what these profiles look like, take a look at window 8 here. You can kind of see it follows the existing ground. It kind of looks like it's a in condition, but it's actually not. There's a pipe that goes under the roadway there. So it actually slides down, and you can kind of see the direction that it's pointing. So it actually goes downhill a ways, and then right around in there, there's a pipe that runs under the road, and then it kind of goes back up to where this ramp is located. So that's what we want to see. And I want to be able to see that on my main line. So I'm going to go in and open up the civil geometry. So I drew that in the plan file, which is probably where you want that to happen. And then I have to go back to the civil geometry file in order to put that profile on my main line. So I'll go ahead and check that all in. So here's the corridor that I'm working with and the alignment. So what I have referenced in here, I have the corridor for this connector road. I have the, this is in the actual file, the alignment. And then the plan view has these ditches brought in. So as you can see, that one is in the current file. I'll take a look at the profile for that one. Put that here in window 8. You can kind of see the way it looks. So this is the profile for that centerline alignment. You can see it's connector road proposed. So what I want to do is I want to see these ditches placed on this alignment. So there are a couple of ways. My favorite way to do this is to take a look at the geometry tools. And you've got in your profile tools or your vertical tools, you've got project profile to element. So what this does is it takes a profile of an element, projects it straight across to the alignment that you're working with. So if you want to see the elevations that are out here, just basically taking straight over to your centerline alignment, that's the tool that you use. Okay, so this is going to be project profile to element. There. And you have to read the heads up on these because sometimes it asks for what you're going to project onto, and sometimes it'll ask for what you're projecting. This one says select element to project. So I'm going to do this right side. When I hover over that, it says it's the special V. It's an SD right is the profile that it's going to project. So I'll go ahead and select that. Go ahead and select on my center line. You can see how it's going to project straight across, and it will place it in my main window. Okay, I can do the same thing for the other side. That one is SDLT, so special ditch left, and I can project it straight across. So now I've got these two items in here. And when I do that, I'm going to want to name those. We have a labeler tool later on that's going to allow us to tell which one's which. So on this one, is if I hover over it, you can see that's SD write. So that's, I'm going to go ahead and name this one. It doesn't have any kind of feature definition to that one, so we're going to have to apply a feature definition. So let's go up here to the standards. I want to see my feature definition toolbar, which was turned off. And I'm going to go ahead and set a feature definition. So this feature definition here, I'm going to go ahead and set that to not an alignment, but I'm going to go down into the, let's see, feature type is alignment, terrain, corridor. I want linear. Feature definitions for linear. We'll do a drainage and we'll do a ditch flow line for that. And then I'm going to call this special ditch. And then we'll do a right on this one. Okay. And as I move down here, you can see special ditch right. I'll go ahead and select it, reset to complete. And when I take a look at that one, it's changed it right there for me. I can take a look at it, special ditch right. So later when I label that, it will name it that exact thing. So I want to do the same thing to the other one. Set feature definition, linear. We're going to have a ditch flow line again, but I'll call it special ditch left. And select the other item and reset to complete. And then that item now has that applied to it as well. So we've got a special ditch left and a special ditch right. Okay, so now I want my 30-foot offsets. I'll try to make this quick for you. The tool we're going to use this is the profile from surface. So 30-foot left and right is using just the terrain model, the active terrain model, and it's going to place a profile down here that should match our green line, hopefully. 30-foot left and right, but it'll be slightly off because you're not right on the center line. So the tool to do that is this profile from surface. And inside this profile from surface, we've got the main thing in here is this horizontal offset. So if I say I want to be 30-foot right, I'll put a 30 in there. And then down here at the bottom, I'm going to put in 30 right. Now I've got it named in there, and you always want to hit enter after that so it holds in. And it says out here, locate the first element that you want to profile. Well, I'm profiling the center line of the roadway, but it's going to be a 30-foot offset from that. So I'll go ahead and select that element, and then I'll right click to accept it in there. And then do you want to use the active terrain? You could use the active terrain, or if you had another terrain model, you could just select it at this point. So I'll reset for the active. And then where do you want to see this? If you want to see it for the whole thing, you can just go from the beginning to the end. And then basically just accept through. Everything's usually set up correctly in there, using all the points, no adjustments, and using the triangles to determine where that goes. Your 30-foot offset, no vertical offsets, and it'll go ahead and place that in there. Now, if it held the name, one of these two is the 30-foot right. So if we rest over it, there's the 30-foot right profile. Okay, so we just have to repeat that process for the other side, profile from surface. And we're going to go to a -30 on this one, and we'll just change our 30-foot right to 30-foot left. Enter that in. It asks us for the element to profile. We're going to do that center line again. And it wants to know, is that all you want to profile? Yes, I'll right click. I'll right click again for the active terrain model. And then I can just start it again from the beginning to the end. And then we can just accept the rest of the way through. We already had the dialog filled out with the -30. So now that places that next line in there. So we've got one left one, one right one, and then the center line. So if I click in here, there's your left 30-foot left. There is your center line profile, and then 30-foot right. If you wanted to name this is a good time to go ahead and name this one. Right now it's feature definition of existing boundary. We would have to apply a feature definition to that to get it named. So we're fine without doing that for right now. Not going to change that one. But now we've got all these profiles in here. Now, any profile that you see in here, that is going to plot out on your plan sheet. So if you have extraneous things out here, extra little lines that you've drawn in there, if you spelled out Bill's name in here for whatever reason, you need to delete that, or else it's going to show up in your profile for your plan sheet. So now I'm going to go into the hard part of this whole thing. We're going to go ahead and make that main view active. I'm going to go ahead and see the other view, but I'm going to go into now creating named boundary sheets. So this is how you make plan sheets now.
Hey, Shannon,
Yes. Yep.
are you going to stay in this file and do that?
I guess I could go to the other file. Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, you can do it from this file, but you won't get probably everything. So yeah, good call, Bill. Thank you. Okay, so we've got everything in this file that we want, and I do have another file, and this is probably something you'd want to do is create a brand new file for your plan sheets. I already have a file started called name boundary connector road. So I'm going to go into that one, and I'll go ahead and check in this file. Okay, so in my name boundary file now, I should be able to open up, and this is something new in ORD that you couldn't do in SS10, is that this line here is referenced in. You can see civil geometry is where it's located, but now you have the ability to look at the profile model. So if I look at the profile model for that, do view 8 and click in there. You're going to get this right now every time that you try to do this from a referenced in profile. You're going to have all the levels turned off. So what we need to do is just go into the levels and go into that civil geometry profile and turn on the levels. Then once you fit the view, you'll see them in there. Okay, so there's everything that we had in the other file. If you can hover over them, you can see that they're all still named and still looking good. Okay, so I'm going to go into our window 1 here. Now we can go into the drawing production. We'll create our sheets inside this file. I've got my drawing scale set to 1 to 50. Go to the named boundaries. This is how we create sheets now. The very first icon at the top is creating your plan, your civil plan. You have to tell it what your drawing seed is. We're going to be doing a plan and profile, so I want to make sure I pick plan and profile. Our drawing scale, detail scale, is going to be at 50. This is the size of sheets that we're making. Now I need to go out and select my center line. So that'll be your connector road. So I'll go ahead and left up on the connector road. Now you can do start and stop stations. You can fill those in if you want to do the whole entire thing. Like I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on these 2 buttons here to go all the way to the start and all the way to the end. So you can see it goes from 0 to 10. I'll come out here in my main window and I'm going to left click in that window and I'm going to accept the start and the end, and it will draw in that top portion of my plan. So this is going to be a 50 scale drawing. You could go ahead and make it a 20 scale and get 2 sheets out of it if you wanted, but at this point I'm just going to do one sheet. Okay, so I have that one in there. Now I need to do the bottom portion, the profile portion. So in our named boundary, I'm going to go ahead and highlight on the profile window to make that active. Then go to my named boundary, and the third option in there is to do a civil profile. Again, you got to pick your drawing seed, which in this case we're doing a D-size plan and profile. This is going to be for the profile view. We need the detail scale to match, so we're going to do 1 to 50. And then we're going to make sure that we have from plan group selected. So instead of station limits, we're doing from a plan group. So we've got this plan file up here. We want it to match what we have up here in the plan view. So that's what this plan group will do. And the plan group is connector road, which was that alignment. Down here a little bit lower, we want to make sure our vertical exaggeration is basically 1/10 of what our overall scale is. So if it's 50, then it would be 5 for vertical exaggeration. If it did 20, then it would be 2. So you're basically dropping a 0 there. Okay, then we can come out onto our screen here. We want to make sure use active vertical is checked. So it's going to use the active vertical that it sees in the file. And then we're going to pick our main alignment, which is this one running right through here. We'll left click on it. It fills in the name, connector road proposed. So we know we're good. We're getting a little white box around it. Go ahead and accept that. So now we have a plan view and a profile view. In our name boundaries, we have the name boundaries manager, which is this absolutely huge icon right down here in the lower right corner of name boundaries. We'll pick on that one. It's going to list out what groups that we have. So we have plan and profile. This little squiggly pencil up here allows you to pull up the dialog box to fill in all the information that we need to fill. So you always have to have that turned on. And then we're just going to go out and select the plan group that we want to create a sheet out of. So we'll do connector road. Then there's 3 options that appear up there. You can either do just the plan, just the profile, or you can do them both. We're going to do both, create plan and profile. So we'll pick on that. You can see up here mode is plan and profile, so we're good there. Our scales, we did it 1 to 50. So we're going to go ahead and make that 1 to 50. Okay, for both of those down here should automatically be filled out 1 to 50. You also have the ability to annotate your profile at this point. So if you wanted to expand that out, we've got some annotation groups set up. This will put your profile grid and annotation down in your drawing for you. So we'll go ahead and turn that on as well. So once your dialog's kind of set like this, click OK here, and it's going to run out and create that sheet that we have out there, that 50 scale sheet, and show it to you in your drawing. And that worked, and I'm very happy that that worked. So what you see in here is you see 3 different, or actually 5 different profiles. The existing ground for the main line, and then 30-foot left and right, and then your special ditches. It also labels automatically your profile for you, gives you the stop sight distance and the K value and the vertical curve lengths for all your different curves. It gives you the grades and everything for that automatically, free of charge, as Bill would say. And then what you can do is once you create that, this is more like an AutoCAD type thing. You have a plan view, and then you have the model that's behind that. So when we go down to our models down here at the bottom, here's our plan sheet, which is what we're seeing out there with a white background. That's being made up of this connector road and the profile for the connector road. So if we want to take a look at that profile, we can select it here, and then we can make any kind of changes we want. So if we didn't want that to be there, we could actually move that around if we want to. The other items in there can be labeled as well. Up at the very top of this, you've got the ability to take off the labels from that main line if you didn't want it. So you could remove that annotation if you wanted. You could remove the grid with this one up here. You could go ahead and take that apart, or if you didn't do it when you first made your profile, you could actually annotate it and then put the grid lines out. If we want to label some of these profiles that we brought across, we've got what's called the civil labeler. A lot of folks will end up liking this tool quite a bit, I think. It takes a second to load. It's going out to a DGN library, and it's pulling in all of our information. Okay. So once it pulls in information, these are all the different things that we can label. We're taking a look at a profile right now. So if you just wanted to label, say, the names of these, maybe 30-foot left and 30-foot right, you could do that. There's a name option right here. So in that name, you can change anything that you want out here, how it's going to put your leader lines, frames, and that sort of thing. Some of the main things are this Enable Label Manager, which pops up, and you can either pick a target or you can select items out there. We're going to be going over that kind of stuff during classes and stuff. But over here to the right, you have this place option. So once I hit place on that, and I've got the name selected here, it's going to ask me for what do I want to label. So I've got that 30-foot right out there. I can left click on that, and I can actually place 30-foot right. And I can do 30-foot left. I can do a name if I actually select it. And I actually select it, which I did not do on that one, which is fine. Okay. So then if you wanted more information, let's say you want the name, station, and elevation, maybe the bottom portions of that ditch, you can do the same exact thing. Come out, make sure you select the element, and then where you want to see the information, come out and draw it, and it will place it out there. Special ditch left. And these items can be moved. So it'll automatically label it. It reads the name of that element, the station, and the elevation automatically. So there's quite a few different labels in here that you can place your stopping sight distance and all that, if you needed to do that. And then plan view does the same thing. It's got a bunch of things for northings, eastings, stations, offsets, and all that. So we'll be utilizing that quite a bit. Once you make the changes in the model space here, you can go back to the sheet space, and you'll see that those things have taken place here. Okay. Now this one I probably need to drag a little further to get to arrowhead, but that's how that works. So what kind of questions we got on that? I know I went over just a little bit, but I blame
You went
Kevin.
over a lot, but yeah.
Blame Kevin for that.
No questions in chat. Anybody got any questions over what Shannon just covered? Me, presenter. Sure. So you see, and next month's presenter that we have is Kevin. Kevin's going to be getting, I don't know what he's going to talk about. He'll come up with something. He usually talks about every WebEx we have. So he'll come up with something detailed. I'm sure he will. Right, Kevin?
That's correct, Bill. It'll be
All
great,
right.
whatever it is.
I didn't say it would be great. I'm just
Oh,
saying
okay.
talk with something. Any questions over this, guys? Anything? Anybody at all? All right. I'll go ahead and end the meeting for this month, and we'll see you Tuesday, March 15th with the next one. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Thank you.
I'll end it all.